community market leader, digital marketing specialist, author, educator, leader. I'm here along the shorelines of Fort Myers Beach. It is a gorgeous late afternoon, early evening. It is going to be, well, if the clouds hold out like this, it is going to be a gorgeous sunset this evening because the clouds or the skies are clear or the sun is setting. It's cloudy over in town with some rain. Right here it is just a bit windy. So the last time I was on the live stream, what I'm really doing is talking a little bit more about my books, and especially my book, Parenting with Purpose, and it is about developing character in our children. You know, we all want our children to have good character and good values. Let me tell you a little bit about my background to sum it up. Okay, Bachelor of Business Science, a Master of Education in School Counseling, and a Master of Education in Educational Leadership. And I've been teaching in schools for 24 years. I have birthed and raised 6 children. They are all adults. Well, my youngest is 18 next month. So yes, they are all adults. And they all have been very different. And parenting style needs to adjust to each one of the children. But more importantly, you know, I always felt it was important to raise my children with the right heart. You know, the Bible tells us that our children are here as a gift. They are not ours. They are not a possession. They are here for us to nurture, guide, and to bring them into a relationship with Christ and to develop good character, good values in them so that that can continue in each generation afterwards. So I took that very seriously and I took that to heart. Myself is brought up in a Catholic church. So, I mean, it was a little bit institutionalized. However, you know what? There is something to be said for structure. There is something to be said for structure and for learning about that structure. And because I worked in the Catholic schools too as a Catholic school teacher, I learned where that institutional structure came from. And it really came from back in the times of Jesus, because when Jesus was walking the earth, he was performing all kinds of miracles. Well, imagine if you heard somebody today, even today, performing all these miracles, you know, depending on your perspective or your worldview, you know, we're thinking they're a little wackadoo, right? And, you know, because we're hearing these things. The other thing is that others come forth that perhaps want to be like Christ or want to perform those kinds of miracles, and they don't, and they too are a little wackadoo maybe on the other end, you know. So I mean, there's a pendulum of that. So the Catholic Church kind of was established out of trying to discern through those manifestations and those kinds of things that were going on. And I learned this again through reading, through studying, and through faith development. You know, learning is lifelong. Even from a biblical perspective, learning is lifelong. Continuous learning is extremely important because that is how we grow, that is how we change, that is how we move closer to Christ, that is how we move closer to God and find our purpose and live a full and productive life. So, in chapter 1 of my book, let me see, talk a little bit more about parenting and you know, what it means to have a relationship with our children. You know, the primary purpose of having that relationship with our children, again, is to help develop them and guide them in the way that they should go. And one of the things that I, especially with the first child, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Well, yeah, okay, let's remember this, that we want, even though we want our children to be different than us, we want them to be better than us, they still are an extension of us. So we have to be loving and gracious to ourselves and taking care of ourselves, and also understand where our children's behaviors are coming from, because they are modeling us as adults. Hey you know, when your daughter, I mean, think about the toys. When our children first start walking, those little gorgeous toys that we get our kids, you know, uh, the Easy Bake Oven, teaching the kids how to cook. They're modeling us. The pretend vacuum, the pretend other adult items, household items. Well, the children are learning and they are pretending that they are adults. And they are learning from us. They are learning from our modeling. So keep that in mind. I think I lost my connection. Let's see. Oh, there we are. Okay, that was a little crazy, right? Okay. Yes, I'm putting my face all the way up here. My apologies very much so. Again, the sun is bright, so it's hard to see sometimes. So yes, keep that in mind that your children are modeling your behavior, and they like to have fun. Everything's play. So use that play to help instill in them good values. The sooner that you can talk and communicate with them, talk to them all the time. Children learn from you. The more you interact with them, the more you talk with them, the more you sing with them, the more they're sponges. They're going to absorb everything. Same thing if you're in the house cursing. If you're in the house cursing and doing some things that are negative or speaking negatively about others, they are learning. They are learning that behavior as well. And so it is extremely important to understand that. Now, so, after the second child or third child, now not only is it you influencing that child, it is the older siblings. This is where you see how you were a parent with the older siblings. Because again, now they are modeling also to the younger sibling. And their interactions and how they behave is a direct reflection on you as well. So be kind and gracious to your children. Do not exasperate them. Understand where their behaviors and where their speech comes from. And we are here to love them. Love them with grace. So even when your child is being difficult, you need to love them right where they're at with grace. One of the things that I had to learn, and I lived an attitude of gratitude because there were many things that I had to change. I really had to change. And I had to be graciously grateful. My kids were very active. They ran around a lot. They had a lot of energy. They still have a lot of energy. And so I always provided activities for them, and I participated with them, and I always monitored them in their activities, took them to the park a lot, probably daily. Actually daily, they remember that. Went to the viewing rooms at the park, learned all the different kinds of birds, went bird watching, looking for wildlife. Interacting with nature is a great way to interact with your children. One of the other things that I had to be grateful for is the amount of energy that they had. And think about all the people that you know. Think about individuals that might have some health issues or health concerns. And even as children, some have issues and health concern. So if you have children that are very, very active, always running around, always interacting with one another, and constantly wanting activity and to do and go, be grateful for that too. When we learn to be grateful for that, because life could be a whole lot different than that. So I had to be grateful that I had healthy, happy children that were active and always wanting to play. So once you start putting out there in words and verbalize it out loud, how grateful you are, and thank the good Lord. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for my healthy, happy children that are active and interact with one another. to play. In doing so, you appreciate those moments. You also learn to appreciate that they are in good health and that they have skills that can be utilized in their adulthood as they grow into the young adulthood and adulthood. Because these active skills are the ones that get them up to work, get them going throughout the day, and make them productive individuals in our society. You know, it could be a lot different. You could have a child that sleeps all the time. Okay, so now what do we do with that? And I know children that are like that as well. And that too is difficult. You know, it's nice to be that relaxed. However, we have to find a healthy balance. And that too means interacting with them, maybe finding a little more peaceful activity that doesn't involve as much strenuous exercise or play, and finding things that you can do to keep them engaged, up, moving, and learning. I'm going to tell you something, quite frankly, keep the phones and the iPads out of their hands. Interact with them. So they learn how to interact with people and learn people's skills. Because they learn these things from you. Think about the ages 0 to 4. Think about the ages 0 to 7. 0 to 4, 0 to 7. This is when the children are the biggest sponges and they are learning the most. Hold them, hug them, love them. Hold them a lot. Love them a lot. Interact with them a lot. Talk to them a lot. Sing with them a lot. These are the times that you're laying strong foundations. And again, one of the things that I shared before, you know, television is a big deal. And what we watch on TV is a big deal. And what you expose your children to, that is equally as important. One of the things that I did is I controlled that aspect. I didn't have the TV on in the house a lot. I didn't have TVs in all the rooms. And kids had to learn how to interact with one another and how to interact with people and how to play and also entertain themselves and self-soothe, because those things are important as well, because then they're learning techniques on how to manage stress, how to manage situations, how to manage their emotions, because they're having experiences. When you have the TV on, are they having experiences? Where are their eyes? Where are their faces? Are they sitting still and just watching the television screen or the phone? Generally, yeah. Okay, so now they're not having these experiences, and these chemicals in the brain are being underdeveloped and underutilized. So as a parent, it's important that you understand these things. Read as much as you can on parenting. Read about child development. You know, the internet, Focus on the Family is a great resource. I'll put some resources up there. Focus on the Family is a great resource. I read a lot of that. You know, I read parenting magazines and parenting articles by reputable individuals that I had a lot of respect for. Dr. James Dobson, he had, at that time, that's when Focus on the Family was started, and it was very beneficial. VeggieTales. The Warner family, I tell you what, that has been the best invention. VeggieTales, because you know, there aren't very many Bible stories that in media, in digital media, available for our children. And that's a great market. You know, if you're looking to for something to create, and you have the wherewithal, I tell you what, biblically based video games, stories, storylines, digital media. Veggie Tales. We watched a lot of Veggie Tales. When we watched TV, that's what we watched, Veggie Tales. By watching that, my kids learned. I mean, again, it was incorporated with, we went to church every week. We were involved in our church family, um, church activities. I kept a community of strong believers around my children and building a firm foundation of faith. Also modeled prayer. We said nightly prayers. And most importantly, an attitude of gratitude. That was extremely important because I wanted my children to be grateful for what they had. We weren't frivolous, but we certainly weren't dirt poor, and I was grateful. We were able to pay our bills, and now, again, we shopped at garage sales, secondhand stores, because I had a lot of children in the house, and discount stores. So we made that mighty dollar stretch as far as we could, and understood the fact that the children were here as a gift to us, and it was our responsibility to nurture and model values and character so that they grew up as positive individuals participating in society and treating others well. This included making good decisions and making good decisions. So again, and communicated a lot with my children. I gave them a lot of different kinds of experiences, my husband and I, and I don't know. Hopefully it worked. The older kids, two of the older kids are very grateful for the life that they actually. My children are very grateful for the life that they had, and very grateful for the people that they were surrounded by in their life. But they too, the devil is a liar, and they had to overcome wrong thoughts and wrong thought patterns based on experiences that they had, just like I did, just like you do. And these belief systems and what we picked up in our childhood as a part of growing and changing, because when we are children, we can only think concretely, and we only have so much capacity for thought in a certain way. As we grow older and gain more experiences and more knowledge, that is when we learn and discern about, perhaps that wasn't a truth that was told to me. So be gracious with your children. Understand that some of these lessons you have to repeat over and over again, because that too is part of learning and growing, is going around that same mountain over and over again. And that's what happens in our childhood sometimes. And we have to help them break through that cycle and help them to understand and realize who they really are, and examine and reflect your behaviors and actions and why it's like that. And then use skills and techniques to change that. So with that, again, parenting, I took that very seriously. I still take it very seriously as they're adults in their adulthood. And though I'm their mother and their father's their father, we realize that they have their independent lives, and you can't get mad at them for making choices and decisions independently, moving forward, that are best for them. You have to support them, regardless of what you think. You have to learn to bite your tongue and let them have their own experiences and make their own decisions. I'm graciously grateful for those opportunities too, because now in their adulthood, we are friends. That's the other thing. You want to raise your children up so that when they are adults, You are friends. You know, some at some point in time, although you're still the parent and still their parent, you want to be in relationship with them in their adulthood. And that means having a friendship too. Not everybody has that. So again, I did that through forgiveness. Again, I'm a school counselor. I'm a counselor. So one of the things that I learned, forgiveness therapy is huge. You know, anger is our first mechanism. If you watch the movie Inside Out, you learn a lot about emotions from that movie. You know, Inside Out 1 and now Inside Out 2 is in the movies. Anger is a defense mechanism, and it is not the underlying emotion, situation, or circumstance. It is a protective emotion. So we have to find where or why we are angry. And so one of the ways that I did that with my children as well as myself is through forgiveness. You know, I forgive other people, and I don't do this for the people that, heck, other people don't even know that they even hurt you. You know, so I do this for myself. You know, I say out loud, I forgive you, Susie, I forgive you. I forgive you, Jenny. I forgive you, Joe. I forgive you, Don. I forgive you, Genesis. And then also, I forgive myself. I forgive myself for not understanding that this was not okay. I forgive myself for not speaking up in the moment. I forgive myself for allowing this circumstance to happen. I forgive myself for allowing these people to treat me like this and then stay in relationship with them. You know, and also you have to forgive God. I forgive you, Lord, for having me walk through these situations and circumstances. I forgive you, Lord, for having this be part of my life and something that I had to learn to deal with and overcome. You know, because I mean, these again are opportunities to grow. And so when we practice forgiveness, and that is one of the things that I really instilled in my children, practicing forgiveness, then we are getting it off of our heart. We are not bottling up our emotions, and we are finding a healthy way to deal with the anger that escalated, but also the underlying emotions and circumstances and situations that created that defense mechanism to begin with. So the other thing, you know, having siblings, and those of you with brothers and sisters know that you fight. I wanted my children all to have good relationships with one another in their adulthood. So I knew in order for them to have good relationships with one another in their adulthood, they had to learn how to interact with one another while they were growing up in different developmental stages. Because I had babies when a couple of my kids were going through adolescence. When a couple of my kids were going into young adulthood, I had children starting elementary school as well as middle school. So I have one going off to college, one in high school, one in middle school, two in elementary school, one starting school. So it's quite, you know, the range of development there was quite vast. And so the younger ones did not understand what motivated the older ones' behaviors or interactions. And so learning forgiveness was extremely important because there wasn't a level of understanding because of the development of the child's brain. So through forgiveness, I felt it was very important to have that because that way each one of them would develop a healthy outlook towards their relationship with one another, and hopefully in time as they grew into young adulthood, understood that whatever was formed in their mind that was a wrong thought perhaps, A wrong thought in a situation with one of their siblings was a result of child development, brain development, emotional development, and not having the capacity to understand. Which, too, you know what? You have to understand that you have to forgive yourself for that, too, because you have no control over that. I look at this as a journey. It is a life path. We have journey. We have a journey to walk in our life, and how we embrace that journey and respond to others and situations is what helps to foster our character, our values, and our outlook and disposition in our adulthood. And again, if it's one that's negative, if you are negative, you understand that at some point in time you have to stop complaining and start speaking the positive things into your life so that your life can change. Because when we speak those things into our life, our actions start to follow in the way that we are speaking. So this is the purpose of writing goals. In school we learn to write goals and academic goals, but there's also personal goals. And in New Year's, that's why we have New Year's resolutions. We take and reflect back a year on our life over the past year, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we'd like to change, and set new goals for the coming year. There's all kinds of teachings on setting goals, personal goals, professional goals, financial goals, and these are all a reflection of the previous years and what we'd like to change and what we'd like to accomplish moving forward. And the reason for writing that down is now we're taking that and making a brain connection, because now we acted physically. You want to say typing it out, but really writing it with a pencil on paper or a pen on paper is much more not reflective, but much more integrated into our soul so that we can manifest those things in the coming days. The other thing is that it gives you a script and it gives you a goal setting sheet to say out loud moving forward. So when we say this out loud, now we write it down, we say it out loud, and it's a reflection also of our past experiences. Now moving forward, what are the action steps that we take in order to make those changes? And this is how we change and grow. It's important to do that in every aspect of our life each year, every so often, actually, short-term, long-term, having short-term goals, 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, and 10-year goals is extremely important. Financially as well. So look for some of my products, because I will have goal sheets available too on how to set that and how to take those steps in order to change your life. Again, life is a journey. It is not one set way or another, and you can always change your life by changing your mind, changing your goals, changing what you say, and stepping into what you want. It is up to you, no one else. No one's going to do it for you. Sometimes you don't even have the support to do what you like to do with your life. And that too, if you have this burning desire and this burning desire in your soul, and you haven't tapped into that and stepped into it and have regrets, now is the time to change that too. Again, I got off the topic, but this is all relevant to parenting. It is all relevant to parenting, because this also sets a modeling and a good example for our children. It models behavior, it models outlook, it models how to change yourself when something isn't adequate, and it also affects your relationship with others. Diana Gaddis, author, Parenting with Purpose, Business with Purpose. Again, these books that I'm publishing, they're all interrelated because they are all based on Bible principles, because that is our instruction manual for life, that is an instruction manual for business, that is our instruction manual for money, that is our instruction manual for children and relationships. And believe it or not, God wants us to be rich. That's my next book. And it's working on, that'll be published soon. Have a great and blessed day. Today is Sunday. May the good Lord bless you. May he bring favor upon you as you move throughout your day and move throughout your week. And I always, the prayer of Jabez, I overpronounce my words because English was my second language. Hungarian was my first language. So I always, Jabez, Jabez, prayer of Jabez. Oh Lord, bless me, increase my territory, lay your hands upon me, protect me from evil, and that I may not cause pain. Again, I will put that link also in my description so that you become familiar with that book and the story of Jabez. Have a great